Two major cities in Iraq, both in the province where most U.S. lives were lost during the war, are now under siege by Al-Qaeda. Now, in his first remarks since the attack, Secretary of State John Kerry is saying the U.S. will not be sending troops back to Iraq. The question is, how did we get here in the first place? How were American gains in Iraq lost so quickly? Joining me now is the author of We Got 'Em, a key commander behind the hunt to catch Saddam Hussein, Lieutenant Colonel Steve Russell. Colonel, thanks a lot for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
So it does seem, from our vantage here in the United States, like a lot of key gains in Iraq have been erased pretty fast. What happened?
Well, it can appear that way. I think Ramadi is more under control than what folks think. What happened was you have Sunnis that feel disenfranchised. A lot of the promises made for power sharing have not been fulfilled by Maliki. And they were protesting. They set up protest camps. They aligned by tribes. The tribal leaders are trying to engage the political process. Maliki didn't like that. He wanted to remove the camps in late December. That was a mistake. They resisted. Al-Qaeda now is coming in and stirring up trouble in the vacuum. There are some options, though. If they work with those that are in the awakening movement and they work with the police, they can turn this around.
It seems like parts of, on the flip side, on the Shiite side, it seems like parts of Iraq are in danger of becoming a satellite of Iran, which is obviously not in our interest. Are you concerned about that?
Well, they are aligned religiously, but they're not aligned ethnically. They're not Persians. You have to remember that they did fight Iran for a decade. This is really about political posturing and power for the April 30th elections that are coming up. And you have rivals in the Shia that are trying to align with the Sunni to throw Maliki from power. And I think the United States has to be careful that we don't give him aid where he could use against political opponents in saying he's fighting terrorists.
Now, as a veteran of the war in Iraq, how do you feel when you see the black Al-Qaeda flag rise over the city of Fallujah? Is that crushing for you?
I want to go fight them. I want to go do something about it. But look, you have very brave Sunni elements. You have the majority of them that are anti-Al-Qaeda. We cannot write the Sunnis off. We have to watch Saladin province. We have to watch the other provinces that are there. Obviously, Anbar is very important. But they can turn this around if Maliki is astute enough to engage them, to work with them, and to not overstep like he's done in the last 2 weeks.
So very quickly, we lost more than 4,000 Americans in Iraq. Of course, what can the U.S. do to ensure that Iraq doesn't become more dangerous to us than it was before we invaded in 2003?
I think that we have to encourage Maliki to engage the Sunnis in the political process and to power share. And we have to make strong statements to show impartiality. If we do that, it has a real potential.
Lieutenant Colonel Steve Russell, one of the commanders responsible for the capture of Saddam Hussein, joining us this morning. Thanks. I appreciate it. Coming up, imagine